Well, I can tell you, you looked good before, you look great now. It's perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the BLIP podcast, where we help agents build successful agencies. Before we get started today, if you haven't subscribed yet to the podcast or to the YouTube channel, please do so. Leave a comment, leave us a review. It really helps other people find us and helps with our engagement. And that's the whole purpose why we do the show, so we can help more people and hopefully change more agencies. Today, I'm excited. I got Justin Goodman with me. He is the CEO of Total CSR. Justin, thanks for being with me, man.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So let's do this. Why don't you just start, kind of give everyone a brief overview of kind of what brought you a little history and what brought you kind of to starting Total CSR and how'd you get to where you guys are today?
Sure. So how I got to Total CSR, I am a third generation insurance broker. My grandfather was in the business. My father was in the business. When I was graduating high school, my old man had a retail and a wholesale operation. And he said, Justin, hey, I'd love for you to come into the business. Is this something you want to do? And I said, there's no chance in hell. And so he says, okay, well, I have an offer on the table to buy my agencies. And does that change your mind? I said, still no chance. Not going to happen. Well, he went and sold to a large public company. And a few years later, I was just graduated college. I was selling shipping supplies for Uline Shipping Company. And I had met a girl.
Hold on a second.
Oh, yeah.
I have to stop you here. So you were selling shipping supplies for Uline.
Yes.
I feel like that is a massive size magazine I get like every quarter or something that sells all office products. Is that right?
It is.
Okay.
And there are people like myself who would drive out if you just bought a roll of tape and then try and convince you to buy more tape. And
that's a tough job, man.
It was pretty interesting. So that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I realized that to support this woman, that recurring commission sounded much better.
Yeah.
So I went like any good son to his dad, who was still working at the agency, and I said, Dad, how about me becoming a producer here? And he was open to it and supportive, but he'd also known that I didn't want anything to do with it. We talked long and hard, and then I went to work there. So I worked at Arthur J. Gallagher for about 6 years before we ended up buying our division back. By that time, my old man had retired. And my book of business, niche contractors, just wasn't, it was small artisan contractors, not in their wheelhouse. And so we were able to work out a deal so that I could go back and operate how I wanted to do that. We were very fortunate. They did right by me and my father, and really our whole family. So flash forward, some of the things that I took for granted at that company was, hey, we could hire the best and the brightest and pay them as much as was available, because we're this massive company. And so I then realized, as I was now a small boutique agent, that I had to go out and recruit somebody. And I said, I want the best, I want the smartest, I want construction specialists. And then my budget didn't match my needs. Yeah. And so that reality hit me, smack in the face. And so I then decided that I'm going to go and train them up myself, much like my father trained me. The problem with that, and this is leading to why Total CSR came into existence, was I was not good at it in the beginning. And I focused too much on complex variables that the new CSR should never be dealing with. But I learned over time how to teach effectively. The problem was it still took 6 months to really teach that person to do the job well.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with the fact that they're millennials. So that millennial who I invest and teach like I'm teaching to my own son or daughter says, after 6 months, I'm not sure this is the right business for me. And or that, hey, you're a small boutique agency and there's these other larger regional agencies here, or an Arthur J. Gallagher. And instead of corporate rung on a ladder. I have a corporate ladder that I can climb there. And so I was feeling bitter and discouraged about that, and my ego bruised. But eventually my brother, who's my business partner, was like, and he's a millennial, he's like, Justin, this is what it is. You can just keep complaining about it, or you can come up with a different strategy. And so the strategy we employed was really to build our own training system, have it e-learning based, and that is the direction we went. So we built an e-learning platform, kind of Jimmy rigged ourselves, our first alpha version of it. Others were interested in it. And then the feedback we got was really positive. And we said, we really got to do this the right way. So then we recruited the head of Toastmasters International, their e-learning program coordinator. So we stole him away, and we got really serious about building this program out to solve the training need that we had, that we knew would work for others. So that's kind of the route we took. And today I still run both companies and am learning to juggle. But that's the background.
Love it. Love it. I am going to do something I've never done right now. And I am going to turn my lights on, because I always have them on. For some reason, I started the show without them. So I'm coming right back.
All right. Well, I can tell you, you looked good before, you look great now. It's perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. So you said something that I think anybody who's been doing this, been in this insurance game for long enough, has felt the pain of, and that is you invest your own time heavily and money just to have somebody decide that it's not for them. Man, that is so stinking painful. Like it's not even, I don't think people really care so much about the money thing, but the amount of time that you invest, you're not going to get back. That is so hard. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm really glad you're on, because we have struggled, our agency has struggled with this, finding good people who don't cost an arm and a leg. That, it's amazing if you can find somebody that just can come in, knows your systems, knows insurance, and they're just plug and play. But it's very rare, I feel like, for that to happen, at least in the price point you're probably hoping to get somebody at. So I think what you guys are doing fills a massive need in our industry. So you said the alpha version, the first version, you got some good feedback. So how much have you guys changed it? Well, I guess let me ask this. How long has Total CSR been around?
Total CSR actually just launched last June.
Okay. So a little over a year.
Yeah, we're still a baby.
Okay. And so from that alpha version, like, how has it changed? Like what was some of the feedback you got that kind of got you to where it is now?
I think the biggest feedback we got was on making sure that the user interface was friendly, simple. We tried to, for lack of a better word, dumb down the technology as far as administrators of the accounts. One thing we see with a lot of insurance softwares that people buy, if you sign up online for something, oftentimes you can't even buy the product online, but when you do, then it requires an email exchange back and forth, an account setup, and a lot of work. And we said, we just don't want to be that way. We want to remove some of those barriers.
Okay.
And so there was that. There was also the idea that our first group was, we thought we were only going to be a commercial lines product. That was what we thought we were just going to be.
Really? Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense, because you started it for your own agency, which does smaller commercial, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even in the way we described our product, when we first started doing when we moved to the demo stage, people said, well, this could work for producers too, because the producers need to know how to complete the Accord forms, or at least get the right information so that the CSR account manager can complete the Accord forms.
Right.
So just a massive learning curve of what we needed to do to articulate our message, but also to make sure the system worked effectively for those that were doing it. We've realized that we have agencies of all needs and sizes, And so some agencies have really complex requests, and we'll tell them, some point we probably will get to those, but not right now.
Yeah.
And then we have other agencies who just say, if you could make it so that the refresh rate is a little faster here, that would be great, because here's what we're trying to accomplish. So we've got just tremendous feedback. I think that's the thing we really appreciate.
So can you walk me and anyone listening through what it looks like for somebody to go through this? Like from the beginning, like first, where do they go? When they sign up, is like you were just talking about, sounds like it's all online. What does the experience look like? Like, and when is it done, or is it end? What is this? Because I don't know, and I'm curious.
Sure. So our customer journey, you go to the website, and people typically go, they book a demo, they see our product, we do in-depth demos. But once
Okay.
someone signs up, there's an admin. That person can assign new users to the program. Once they get their username and password emailed to them, they can sign in, and they click on the first course. There'll be 7 for commercial lines, 7 courses they can go through.
Okay.
And when they dive in, the first thing they see is a 2-minute explainer video on a coverage line. So we want to give them a visual representation of the coverage. So workers' compensation, 2-minute video. We then go into a lot of definitions and terminology. Why do we do that? Because there's so much terminology they have to know to be able to do the business. And the definitions we have differ from everywhere else in our business. So a loss run for workers' compensation has 22 key terms you need to know to be able to read that loss run. For that new person, that's a steep learning curve. So we have them learn terminology, and then we walk them through the basics of coverage. So our product right now is not geared to be a coverage expert level learning course. And we're trying to give them the minimum amount of coverage knowledge so they can transact business for the agency.
Nice.
2 reasons. One is, as they go through the coverage training program, and we keep it simple like that, they can get a good foundational knowledge without getting too confused. But 2, as they go forward, there's plenty of opportunity to learn more. And I equate it to an MBA program. Most people go through an MBA program, they go to work for a few years and then return. Those that go straight from college into an MBA program don't have context. And I think that's really important in learning. So we take them through the coverage basics, and then we get practical. We want to take them through a renewal cycle. So for commercial lines workers' compensation, we've got to get information. So they're going to see what type of information we're requesting, what that information means. And so we'll go into understanding what a loss run looks like, provide sample loss runs. They go through a tutorial of loss runs. Then they get quizzed with different loss runs, so they see them in different iterations to trip them up. Once we go through that, we're going to go through the accord form in depth. They're going to learn what sections they need to complete. Then we have scenarios they're going to go through where we give them payroll figures, we give them a supplemental application, and they have a narrative, and they have to complete this accord form in real time, and they will be graded in real time. They need 95% accuracy to move forward. They do that, they move on, they go through 5 scenarios. Then we go to the next stage, which is, hey, we've got to submit it to the carriers. We walk through what that looks like. We then go through what it's like to get a quote back. We go through in depth for each coverage line, what quotes look like. And then we quiz them with different iterations to make sure they understand, for example, the difference between a base rate and a net rate, seeing where the premium discount factor is, all of these things. We move them on to the proposal stage, policy checking, and then those things that we do after the fact, dealing with the customer, whether it be certificates of insurance, which we teach them how to do that, how to deal with final audits, lots of different things like that. So we're very practical based, and the same applies for personal lines. The difference is, instead of accord forms, we're using a comparative rater, and we had to build a comparative rater so that people could practice on that.
Gotcha. So the comparative rater it's not live and used for comparing quotes right now, is it? It's a demo software.
Correct.
Okay.
And we have no intent of going and playing in that space, but we had to build it so that people could get the experience, and then again, be graded in real time so they get the repetition.
That's one of the things I was going to ask you is there do you go over management systems or raters or anything like that in the course?
So we go over the personal lines does give good examples of online rating and practical scenarios through that, along with comparative rater use. We don't deal with agency management systems specifically because we talk to about, I can't even tell you how many experts. And when we were debating how we were going to build the system, they said with so many different agency management systems out there, always changing, you're
Yep.
going to have problems in that area. Plus, the agency management system is just the interface. They ultimately have to translate it to the Accord form. And if you
Mm.
can understand what the end information needs to be, then you can figure out the interface. And we have strategies, and we talk to agencies all the time. I get calls, hey, Justin, well, how do you teach the agency management system side? And we walk them through that as well, because that's actually really simple to do. So we think it's a separate part of the training,
Yeah.
not part of what we do.
So what you were saying earlier, your example of, thank you, first of all, for going through all that. I think that's helpful. But it's called Total CSR. You had said something earlier about possibly like having something for producers. Is it geared towards producers as well, or just CSRs?
So it works for both. So when we came up with Total CSR, that was our initial vision. Commercial line
Yeah.
CSRs, that's what it was going to be. And then we just we also never thought that the top 100 agencies in the country would be interested in the product. We
Yeah.
thought they had built their own stuff, and it turned
Right.
out that a lot of them hadn't to that extent. And so that's kind of why we started with Total CSR. We said, this is what it is. We're trying to create that. But it does work for producers. And we have our own producer training course as well that's geared to jumpstart that producer's career. But the coverage or the commercial lines program does work for a producer to be able to understand what needs to be done, understand the process, and get them geared up as well. We didn't want to create a separate product that said producer commercial lines training course when it was the
Yeah.
same exact thing.
Yeah. So I know we're getting into like the nitty gritty on this, but is there, so in the commercial world, it's a lot more involved than personal lines, right? So everyone's business, if it falls in a different category, it could be different, like supplemental application, or, you need different information. Do you guys go over all that stuff too?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we go through it all with samples, and the whole idea is to give enough information that they can transact and do the job.
Yeah.
So with this, we wanted somebody to say, it's not the illusion of a solution, it is the actual solution. And so
Wow.
if I have a new person who goes through this program, they can complete this program and start working at a desk. Now, obviously, there's nuance to that, and they have to learn an agency management system,
Sure.
but that they could actually go and start working.
Wow. How long is, well, I guess before we get there, there's a personal lines component to it. True, correct? Or you
So we
can't.
have a personalized program as well.
Okay. And they're separate. Can you do a bundle?
Yes.
Wow. And
So
how
you can.
long? Sorry, go
Uh,
ahead.
so we've got commercial lines, personal lines, soft skills training, and producer training. You can bundle them all. You can buy them separately. We include soft skills training with both commercial and personal lines. The
Okay.
commercial lines course is 60 to 80 hours for that new person, and then we have
Okay.
a 6-week follow-up course. And then everyone says, well, why do I have to complete the follow-up course? And we've done a tremendous amount of research on retention, and the follow-up course is really designed to improve that retention. That retention goes up 50% when it's spaced out over 6 weeks, and we hit them with 1-week intervals with that information. And so that's what we've done with all of our coursework. The personalized course is about 40 to 50 hours of training. Now, all that to say, if you have somebody who's experienced, let's say they've been in the business 18 to 24 months in either personal or commercial, it's going to take them less time to go through the program.
Yeah.
Uh, but for the newbies, that's really the range we're seeing.
Have you gotten good feedback on the soft skills training? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so soft skills training, one of the things that we found that was a pet peeve of a lot of agency owners, and that really came out of their request was, hey, business writing skills. We need to see that our millennials that are coming in understand how you're going to communicate in a business environment, whether it be structuring emails, narratives,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with phone calls. So we've got business writing, how to have proper phone etiquette, handling difficult customers. We find that because of the texting that goes on and so much that's computer based, when you have an angry customer on the line, they haven't had that experience in many cases of how to diffuse the situation, how
Yeah.
to not inflame the situation. So we go through that. The business writing, we actually go into a lot of grammar, and that frustrates some English majors that are now insurance agency owners and the like. But there's a lot of people out there, myself included, who have struggled with grammar, and we want them to communicate effectively because the words we use in our industry do matter. We
Mm-hmm.
lastly have a leadership course that's part of that. And it's, again, really designed on 5 areas that can help them be more effective out the gate.
Gotcha. You had said something earlier when you were talking about, teaching someone all the terminology, and like there's complete different set of language or set of words and terms for what we do. And Chris Green, I was talking with him, and he was having an issue with somebody he had hired because he couldn't get them to wrap their mind around that binding a policy didn't mean physically binding it with a binder. You know what I mean? That they didn't understand it. I was like, I've never even thought of that before. Like, it's just those types of terms we use all the time, and somebody new to the industry, new to the space, wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So where do you see this going? Like, what are your hopes and dreams for Total CSR?
Well, I guess I'll start there. There's some stuff that I can't specifically talk about, but
Okay.
I'll start, and you might be able to fill in the gaps if you can understand where my vision was. As soon as we realized we had something, was I am a big believer that the student debt crisis is a big problem, and our industry doesn't need 4-year degrees for people to be effective in insurance. I think a lot of insurance agencies are starting to figure that out.
Yeah.
But only 4% of millennials have any interest in coming into the insurance business. So we have a very small pipeline of people that have interest, and we have a lot of people exiting the business. And yet these people are going off getting 4-year degrees, which, again, great if that's what you want to do. But then they have $100,000 in debt, $50,000 in debt, and they come into our industry, and their frame of reference is, I need to make at least this much because I have to pay down my student debt.
Yeah.
And so they pass on our industry because they've got a debt load to take care of. So my perfect vision is we create another pathway that is led by agencies where you can recruit the best because you have access to Total CSR, a complete and comprehensive program that will replace what they could have learned that would have applied to the business. And now you have a magnet to get the 4%. Maybe we get it to 8%, 10% of millennials, because now agency owners are the ones who are able to say, look, we've got a plan for you, and we have a program you can go through, and you can go through it during an internship over the summer, et cetera, and you can start ready, hit the ground running. And that's really my end goal, is to have something that agency owners can say, this will be our magnet to attract the top talent because we've got something that will pull them in. And now they don't have to go and get that $50,000, $100,000 in debt. They can go a different route and say, I've got actually the education that I need for this career path, and move forward that way.
Do you think you're going to continue to add additional pieces to this for, like, I don't even know what pieces it would be, but I know one of the things that, as employers, that I hear getting talked about all the time that employees are wanting is continued education, right? They want to keep growing and building on their knowledge base and all that sort of thing. Do you think you're going to keep adding pieces to it so that employers can say, like, here, you have access to all this, or, here, we got this other additional course for you to gain from?
Yes. So our business model is very straightforward. Our goal is to provide so much content and value that our users just say it'd be silly not to renew.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the end goal. So I don't talk about the full development pipeline because I've done it on a few other podcasts, and it put too much pressure on our developers.
Yeah.
And I have been warned again to not promise things, because then they have to deliver on those timelines. But I can say, for example, we're launching benefits training. So group benefits training
Oh,
by the end of the year. Uh,
okay.
and in 2020, what we're launching is going to make everything we've done so far look like peanuts. So we're really excited about what's going to happen in 2020.
Yeah.
Um, and, but the idea being, we want agencies to be able to have a roadmap that serves as both a magnet and a way to relieve the burden on their existing staff. And so, yeah, we'll continue developing content. And again, the idea is we're going to keep getting feedback until everyone runs out of ideas.
What for, where did the content originally come from for the course? Was that straight out of your brain, or did you collaborate? How did that work?
So as I've been told in my office, instead of like a squirrel on a hamster wheel, or a hamster on the wheel thing, I've got like a bunch of squirrels running around in different directions.
Okay.
So it came from my brain, but it required Trenton, our CTO and the head of e-learning that we brought over, to be able to translate it. And then it required my brother, who has always seen that I've gone too deep on concepts and too technical, to
Uh-huh.
basically translate it further so that we didn't just muck up the training process. So it was all internal, but it was a collaborative process. And so um, I want to make sure that I don't say, hey, it was all in my brain, because there was heavy lifting to get what
Sure.
was in my brain to actually workable for anybody else.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's going to happen moving forward too? Or do you think that there's going to be a point where you guys add things that you don't feel like an expert on?
I think in some ways we're going to be leveraging some experts, because I don't ever want to uh, overstate my capabilities. I mean, I was trained reading policies, and so I am very technically sound.
Yeah.
Especially some of the directions we're going, we'd be foolish not to leverage a tremendous amount of knowledge that sits out there, knowledge that won't be around forever. But we'll never outsource the the process to anybody else. We're not going to say, "Hey, Jim, go and do this, and we'll just license it from you." That's not really what we're interested in doing.
Yeah. Gotcha. How much of your time right now is spent working on Total CSR, and how much time is spent in your agency or on your agency?
90% total CSR, 10% on the agency. I have some awesome ninja assassin account managers and producers that are handling everything we need to do in the agency. I was
Nice.
always an operations guy, and so I've always had an idea of how to run it. And so my goal was so that I could work on the business, not in it. And so it effectively runs, and it tends to run better when I don't stick myself in the middle of it. So
Yeah. Nice. Do you think that there'll ever be a point where you focus 100% on Total CSR and get out of the insurance?
I don't think so. I think for me, so I'm an insurance geek, and part of the stuff we learn by first testing on our own people.
Yeah.
And they're going to be a lot more blunt with me than others would be, because anybody who's a customer of ours, maybe the owner will tell me 100% the truth, but the other person doesn't know what relationship I may have with the owner. And my
Yeah.
staff, we have very clear communication, and they just know that we're trying to make a product good. So they'll tell me, Justin, this doesn't apply, and I know you think you did an A job there, but it's really a C plus B minus.
Yeah. Nice. Man, anything else? Anything we missed that people should know?
I would go back to our first little part of our conversation, and as far as agency owners talking about um, the frustration of investing the time. Uh,
Yeah.
I think, and this is again something my brother had to teach me, and I hate even saying that. It's difficult swallowing that. But that's what we have to deal with. And if you have a way to train fast enough, then you don't have that problem. Because I can get somebody trained in 6 to 8 weeks to be a rock star. It's a 2 week training and the follow up, and then what the other stuff we do. Like, we don't have to worry about that. And so it's changed the dynamic in the office, because when I'm interviewing somebody, I can honestly say, look, if this doesn't work out, you're here a year and a half, 2 years, and you want to go somewhere else. Well, one, I have lots of connections with other agencies.
Yeah.
And if you've done right by me, I'm going to help you get that opportunity. And I'm not going to think twice about it. Or if you want to do something else, like, that's totally fine. And so we're able to have very authentic conversations and do right by both of us, versus a situation where the employee says, I'm tired, there's a new opportunity, 2 weeks, I'm out of here, right? Which again,
Yeah.
it's their right to do, but I would rather have a conversation that I'm going to do right by you. If you're looking elsewhere, let me help you in the process, but at the same time, I can go and figure out my end. And even if it doesn't work out for you, I can always not hire that person. And it's just a game changer when we're able to do that.
Mhm.
And the only other last tidbit I'd say ties to the agency management systems. With the rise of how easy it is to use video, every process should be recorded on video on a step-by-step basis. It's not difficult to do. And the agencies of ours who are leveraging that find tremendous success, because there's so much you can capture on video that when written out just doesn't look the same, even if you've got pictures on a piece of paper. And none of this is complex stuff to do. And so, yeah, that'd be my couple thoughts.
One thing I wanted to go back to is you had talked about, so you have split it where it's kind of have the initial course, and then you have you said, I think it's 6 weeks in.
Yes.
You have another how
I have
long? 20
a
hours?
2 week course and then a 6 week follow-up course.
Okay.
So once a week for 6 weeks after that.
Got you. And when you said it helps with retention, you meant for the employee to stay with
Yes,
your agency.
correct.
Got it. Okay. What's the how much should someone expect to invest in the course if they're going like commercial or personal? Like, what's the ballpark on those?
As far as pricing,
Mm-hmm.
so we've got different bundled packages, but to give
Yeah.
you, I'll just give you a strictly commercial lines program.
Sure.
We're a SaaS model, so subscription based. And so for
Okay.
commercial lines only, it's $2,000 annually. Now,
Okay.
with that, you get the soft skills training, and that gives you 3 active users. So Janie, Jack,
Okay.
and Phil are going through the program. They pass. They're done with it. You can add Phil, Tom, and Frank. They pass.
Got
Put
it.
on Cindy, May, and Lou. And so we have some agencies who take tremendous advantage of the fact that we have a 3 user subscription. Now I
Yeah.
get the questions of, I just need one. And my response to that is, I know it costs you $10,000 to $15,000 to train the new hire. That's what all
Yeah.
the data shows.
Yep.
And we say, and our product is a fraction of that for one. And we give a few extra licenses because we wanted those that could, or someone who had someone on an internship, to be able to leverage us in a more comprehensive way.
Mm-hmm. It sounds completely reasonable to me. I mean, to not have to invest my time to train somebody with all the details like that, I think you might be undercharging.
Well, the truth is we need the user adoption. So we're at 700 agencies so far.
Okay.
And I think one of the reasons we've gotten there is because we've been honest. We said, we're the new kids on the block. We're not the National Alliance. We're not the Hartford School of Insurance.
Yeah.
Been around forever. Now we do stuff that's very different than they do. But when someone's saying, I'm going to take my hard-earned money and throw it your way, we want one to say, well, we got to make sure it works for enough people before we start throwing a price tag on there that is unreasonable.
Yeah. One thing I did want to ask, one thing I did want to ask is what is unique, or how is it different? Like what were you finding lacking in the other programs that are out there, like Hartford, or I think Liberty Mutual had one too, but like, what's unique about it?
Okay, so here's my caveat. Love them all,
Yeah.
support them all. I'm a
Okay.
card-carrying CIC, and what I will say is they focus on coverage. So the difference between us and them in the most simplest form is if you hire somebody and send them off to the Hartford School of Insurance and they come back to your agency, they cannot start working for you right away. They haven't been
Gotcha.
trained on how to do the job. If they go through Total CSR and come back through, they sit and they do the computer work
Yeah.
done, they can start working immediately and contributing to your agency. So
Nice.
it's not that those programs aren't valuable, but their goal is to teach coverage. It is
Okay.
not how to teach the job.
Got it. I asked because I have not been through one of those and I have not sent anybody through one of those. So I truly did not know, but that's great. Well, I mean, that's it. I appreciate your time, Justin. Where can people find you?
They can find us totalcsr.com, and we post a lot of our videos now on YouTube as well. So we have a page on YouTube as well, Total CSR, and so that's where you can find me. You can always email me, Justin at Total CSR. We're really open. If you have questions, I get a lot of questions operationally. What are you doing? Whether it be outsourcing or otherwise, how do you solve this problem? I actually like those conversations, and oftentimes I think the person knows more than me about some of these topics, and I learn from them. So
Yeah.
don't be bashful.
Anybody listening, make sure that you go check out Total CSR. I know I will be. So the demos sound like it's pretty easy to book that just on
Yeah,
totalcsr.com.
really easy to book, and I always want to make the point that our salespeople are not allowed to sell during a demo. That will never happen in one of my demos. I cringe when I think about it.
Nice.
All they are to do is to walk you through any part of the system you want to see, ask any questions, take as long as it takes on the actual demo to see that it either works for the agency or doesn't. And so you set it at a time that works for you. Typically our demos last about a half hour. Sometimes they go to an hour because some people say, I want to see commercial, personal, producer training. And we just walk through as much as anybody needs to see. And then it's really, hey, our pricing's on the webpage. If you're interested, you move forward. If not, thanks for the time.
Solid. Thank you again, man. Can't thank you enough. I'm stoked. I'm going to go check out a demo.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the time.
Yeah, man. All right. Take care.
All right.